In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your front strut and spring assembly on your Buick Encore. It's located behind your front wheel. We're going to start by removing this so we can get to our strut tower. Using a trim tool, I'm going to remove this grommet on this side and also do the same on the other. Next, we're going to use a flathead screwdriver and pop open this little cap to remove our wiper blades. There's one here and one on the other one. Using a 15mm socket, we're going to take out these nuts to remove our wipers. Do the same on the other side. Make sure you mark where your windshield wipers live before taking them off. I'm going to use painter's tape so it's easy to come off. You're going to rock your arm back and forth off the shaft and it should come out. I'm using a pry bar on the other end just because ours seems a bit stuck. Once you take that off, you can put it off to the side. Do the same on the other side. Now we're going to remove our air vent, peel back that rubber piece, and you can pull this right off. I'm going to move to the other side and get the other side off. You can just set that off to the side. Using a 19mm socket, we're going to remove our lug nuts. Make sure you have a hand on it. Remove your wheel. We're going to use a special tool to remove this nut. We're going to hold the center of the strut still using a 10mm socket and a 1/4" ratchet. So once you get yourself set up, okay, I'm going to hold my middle still and pull back with my ratchet. I'm going to leave this on my strut so that it doesn't just fall out of the car when I do remove it from underneath. I'm going to support my lower control arm with a jack stand so that when I disconnect this sway bar, the strut doesn't fall down too far. I also have my nut on the top that's on by a couple threads to hold the strut in place. But this will keep everything stable until I'm ready to take the strut out of the vehicle. Using an 18mm, we're going to take off this nut on the strut. It may spin, so I may have to hold the center of the stud for the sway bar, or it may not. So I'm going to try zipping it off and hopefully it won't spin. Well, it didn't spin. If your stud spins, you're going to use a T40 Torx bit and this special tool. And what you would do is put this on, hold it still with this, and then take off the nut or loosen the nut. I'm going to use a punch and a hammer, and I'm going to unpin this nut. Now that you've unpinned your nut, you're going to use your 36 thin-walled millimeter socket. I'm going to take this axle nut off so we don't damage the CV axle when taking the strut out. Set that aside. Make sure your axle's free. We're going to remove our speed sensor out of its bracket. And also here to allow more length and movement. And now we're going to just take the brake hose out of this bracket too. You may need a little lubricant to get that out. And just put that off to the side. I'm going to push this top sway bar link out and put it off to the side as well. And now we're going to take out these 2 bolts. I'm going to use a 21 millimeter socket for both of these bolts and a 21 millimeter wrench on the head. And we're going to take out these 2 bolts. Now that we've removed the nuts, we're going to see if they come out. Which looks like they're a little rusted. I'm going to put a little penetrating oil on there and see if they come out. A good way to free these up is to put some oil on them and then spin the other side if you can. And once they spin, they're most likely going to come out. So I've got both mine free, and now I'm just going to tap them out. So our strut is being held up by a couple of threads on the top. So I'm just going to move that off to the side. And I'm going to grab onto one of the springs, and I'm going to unthread it from the top. Just be careful of your ABS sensor. Make sure you don't knock into that, and you can pull it right out. You're going to remove your nut on off the new strut and remove this washer, and we're going to take the old one off and put this one on top. Just place that on top, and now we can install our strut. So I'm going to feed my strut up through. I'm going to get my nut started, just a couple of threads, and let it hang. I'm going to line up my strut. You might have to push your knuckle in a little bit and pick up your strut in order to get that first bolt in. All right, now we'll get the bottom one. Get our nuts started. And I'm going to tap these in a little bit. I'm going to snug them up. Just waiting to see the head of my bolt be flush with the strut. Now that it's flush, we're going to snug up our nut on the top, and then we'll torque everything down. I'm just going to snug this up with a 24 millimeter socket. I'm going to use my special tool to torque this in case the center stud on the strut moves, which it isn't, so that's good. I torqued this to 48 foot-pounds. Now we're going to torque the bottom 2 bolts. If your vehicle has a cap, you can replace that now. We're going to torque our strut bolts now to 81 foot-pounds. Once you've done that, you can put your ABS sensor in your bracket. your sensor in the other bracket. And put your brake hose back in its bracket. Now we can torque this with our special tool. I'm holding the center with my Allen wrench. I torque them to 48 foot-pounds. It doesn't look like our center is spinning anymore, so I'm just going to use my torque wrench. Now we're going to put our axle nut on. Now we're going to torque our axle nut to 37 foot-pounds, and after we do that, we're going to torque it further to 60 degrees, or slightly less than a quarter turn. I have a pry bar here to hold my wheel from spinning. Okay, so that's 37 foot-pounds, and now we're going to go a little less than a quarter of a turn more. And that's good. Now we're going to peen over our nut. Remove your pry bar. Just another note, be careful you don't ruin your threads with your pry bar. Be gentle with it. And if you're nervous about it, you can put your lug nuts on before putting the pry bar on. Now we're going to put our air vent back on and our wipers. I'm going to line everything up, make sure all your trim pieces are where they belong. Going to slide that in. Line up the holes for the windshield wipers. There's one here and one here. And it should just drop into place. Check your other side, make sure you're lined up. Looks pretty good. Push this little rubber thing back in. Make sure your washer fluid tube hose is in that. And put everything back that popped out. It's going to need a little persuasion later on. But for the most part, we're where we need to be. I'm going to put my windshield wiper on. Make sure you're lined up before you commit. So that's right about where it was. I'm going to pick this up and apply pressure and push it down. Once they're in place, you can remove your tape. We're going to torque this to 18 foot-pounds. Do the same on the other side. Now we can put our caps on. And just slide them right in and snap it in. So these little things go in the grooves. And then push it down. Make sure you replace all your grommets, like this. Our car only had one on each side, but it looks like there should be one along the way, all the way down. So replace those. Also this, there's a little nub there. You're going to make sure you insert that into the hole and push in with your thumb, and that'll secure that. Now we can lift the car off the support, or if you're on the ground, you can take your support away. Install your wheel. Start your lug nuts by hand. sure your bottom lug nut is centered and walk the wheel on. We're going to torque this to 100 foot-pounds in a star-like pattern using a 19mm socket.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.